Hi everybody, it's Josh with Talk About Trek, and I am back because I finally finished up the big, there you are, Rihannsu Saga book. I finished up today part 3, which is actually 2 books in one, Swordhunt and Honor Blade. So they put it all together in one for the big saga book that they did here. But anyway, Swordhunt is basically the fallout from what happens in The Romulan Way. And The Romulan Way was just an excellent, excellent book. I really enjoyed like the deep dive into the Romulan culture and all that. Going the wrong way. But this is something a bit different from that. So this is, and I'm not even going to bother trying to read to you. Look at these things. Look at these back covers. 3 paragraphs, and then the second one, 4 paragraphs? No, let me tell you what the back cover should read. So, Star Trek Swordhunt by Diane Duane. The Enterprise has been called in to assist in a diplomatic mission close to the neutral zone. Their old friend, Commander Ael, has been sought by the Romulans and now is in Federation space. What follows is a tale of intrigue, Romulan deception, Federation ingenuity, and some good old-fashioned fun. Or something like that. Not like this big giant thing which gives away, I'm sure, the entire story. Now, I do kind of wish that maybe I had prepared myself for a little bit more, because, well, we'll get into it at the end. But, you know, everyone reading these books knows exactly what I'm talking about, probably. And I bought this big thing, and I was thinking that the whole story is in here. I was mistaken. But anyway, we shall continue. So this story picks up with a prologue showing a Romulan colony, a peaceful colony, being bombarded and attacked by Klingons. So just kind of an interesting little prologue there, showing that not all is well along the Romulan border worlds where this is happening. In the Romulan Senate, they are working on rebuilding the dome after the events of the Romulan Way, in which McCoy was there being held trial and was rescued in the end by Commander Ael and the Horta Narat, who came busting up out of the ground, causing much damage to the Romulan Senate building there. So the story starts there with the big three, basically. The big three, what? Centered? The big three Romulan Praetoriat, who kind of like run the whole show, basically. They're Urel, and these Romulan pronunciations, they take some getting used to. So Urel, Trenier, and Armin are like the big 3 Romulan Praetoriat. And they are all scheming for what they need to do, basically, at this point, which is to find Commander Ael and the Bloodwing, recover the sacred sword, the Satask sword, which she took at the end of the Romulan Way, and basically put a stop to what she has kind of started, which is this movement which is starting out slowly, kind of this rebellion on the outside worlds against them. So they need to kind of bring her in to kind of quash that rebellion. So now the story switches over to the Federation side, and Kirk has been ordered, and he has special sealed orders. He's been ordered, though, to meet up with the Bloodwing and then proceed from there to meet with the fleet at a location fairly close to the neutral zone, where they're going to meet with the Romulans to discuss basically handing Ael over to them, and other things, I suppose. So they kind of, a little bit more goes on here, but they're able to delay their timing somewhat. Like, I think they kind of realize that there's something more going on, so both the Enterprise and the Bloodwing are able to delay their meetup so that they don't arrive precisely when they're supposed to get there. And when they do get to where they're supposed to be, the Enterprise arrives with the Bloodwing, and finds an ambush that was waiting there for Bloodwing, which says a couple of things. Well, it says one thing is that somebody inside Starfleet is tipping off the Romulans as to what's going on. So, the Enterprise and the Bloodwing are caught in this ambush with the 6 Romulan cruisers coming to attack them. However, they are close to a kind of a small dwarf star or something, and they're able to use the sun seed technique, which was from like the previous books, where they shoot phasers and photon torpedoes, both of their ships at certain times at certain spots into the sun, and it produces this devastating ion storm. So you have this exciting little scene there where they're able to do that, and they produce this ion storm. They're able to blow up all 6 of the other ships and safely make it away to the rendezvous point. So, and that's that right there is kind of like the whole first book. Like I said, they took 2 books and they combined them into one, and then they slapped them into this one big giant one and called it Book 3 Swordhunt. But what we actually have is Swordhunt and Honor Blade. Oh, it was supposed to pop up there when I did that. Honor Blade. There we go. So anyway, Honor Blade is the second book in the series. And in reading the 2, and I kind of knew offhand that it was 2 books combined into one, I couldn't even really tell where they had split it off. But it was basically right at this point where now you have the Bloodwing, who's going to go off with its kind of own Federation escort away from the negotiations, while the rest of them go to the meetup site where they're going to do these negotiations with the Romulans there. So during these scenes, you have interspersed with that kind of these short little scenes showing more unrest on these Romulan outworlds, particularly among these certain clans, these shipbuilder clans, who feel they've been kind of like pushed out, their rights taken away, but they still have to pay taxes. Their protections taken away, but they still have to pay, and they still have to send conscripts. So they have started this rebellion there in the outworld. And so you have these kind of fun, great little scenes where they're showing that rebellion going on. And one of the interesting ones was kind of like this one old Romulan guy who was being told basically that he had to be, was being ordered to serve, being conscripted, even though there was no reason for that. And he stood up and said, "I will not serve," and then was shot down. It's kind of like a spark, for the revolution there. So you have these interesting little scenes there of them kind of gaining more ground and eventually even taking control of the Romulan ships that were sent to take care of them, to kind of shut down the rebellion. So, back to the main story, which is the focus here, is you have the Federation fleet. So, Jim has been ordered pretty much as soon as he meets with the fleet to meet with Commander Donaloff, or Commodore Donaloff, who's the in charge of the whole situation, basically, and who's kind of keeping an eye on him. And it almost seems that the Starfleet is a little bit worried about his loyalties, since they know he's been close, with the commander in the past missions that they've done. So kind of like maybe keeping an eye on him unnecessarily. He's going to do his duty. So they have this neutral ground ship come in. And I don't know if this is new for this book. I didn't really look into it very much, and I probably will after this. But the Lalaurie, who are a neutral, not a single species, but a group of species who are spacefaring and live in this giant egg-shaped ship, which is described as being egg-shaped, of course, but then having like a pillar through the middle with like buildings and things off of it, coming off of there. Incredibly huge, incredibly advanced as far as weaponry, defense, and all that kind of stuff goes, and home to over 9,000 people. And they do things like this, I guess. They help mediate disputes, so they are kind of like right in the middle, and then the Federation fleet and the Romulan fleet on the other side. So the first thing they do is they have a nice little, kind of a little get-together, just to kind of get all the delegates there together to meet. And I haven't mentioned up to this point, but one of the other characters in this book, which I'm glad that that she brought back for this, is the young Senator Arrhae, who of course is a deep cover Federation operative who's been undercover for something like 8 years or more on Romulus and has worked her way up from being a servant to a senator, thanks to the events in the last book. But she was chosen to come on this diplomatic mission, partially chosen by her, group that she was with, to be able to help the Federation through this. So Arrhae is there, and then she has been told by this book there's lots of layers, and but I'm just gonna go with it. So Arrhae is there, and she has been told by Romulan intelligence to pass along information to McCoy, who they know she's somewhat familiar with. But the information that she's passing along, however, is false, and it's telling the Federation the wrong thing to give them the wrong idea. So she finds a way to pass this information along to McCoy, along with additional information, kind of giving them the real scoop as to what's going on. And she does this in a real slick way by dropping her scarf, and then he picks up the scarf and finds the hidden things in the scarf, and they're able to kind of figure that out that way. So another fun character that they introduce at this time is another member, I think, of the Praetoriat, whose name is Gylum Tracherian. And he is a very rich and powerful Romulan, owns a lot of land on both the planets, and is kind of known to be a voice against maybe the main three, and kind of immediately makes himself to be known as one of the more honorable ones, where the main three, the kind of triumvirate there, you can see already that they are the ones that are the reason that Ael kind of started this whole thing in the first place, because they don't have any real honor, any real Romulan honor. So he kind of introduces himself to some of the members of the Federation there. I think he talks with Kirk and Spock and McCoy and kind of gets along and has a drink with them. So an interesting little couple of scenes there. And you can tell that there's going to be something more going on there. And later on, he comes to Arrhae's quarters there aboard the Romulan ship. And he's got this personal cloaking device that he uses to kind of keep his movements hidden. And it also, any Romulan listening devices won't be able to work. And that's when he passes along to her, Arrhae, that she needs to let McCoy know of the imminent Romulan attack. Basically, the Romulans plan to attack and destroy Bloodwing as soon as it comes into the area with its escort. And Commander Ael is already on her way into the area with that escort right now. So she has to get this message to McCoy as soon as possible, and she's able to do that by hiding it in a bottle of Romulan ale, which she's able to send over to McCoy as kind of an apology. And then McCoy's able to quickly scan it. He knows something's up. He finds it. He gets it to Spock. Spock's able to decode the message just in time to avert the Romulan attack. Well, not avert it, but basically kind of warn everybody that as soon as the Bloodwing comes in, the Romulans plan on attacking it. And what happens? They test, basically right as they say that, warp signatures incoming. And here come the Bloodwing and its escort. And then the Spock then is oh, I figured it out. This whole time he's been looking in his little scanner, trying to figure something out. And he's figured out that there was this reading that he couldn't quite place. And apparently it's a new style of Romulan cloaking. So there's a cloaked ship which is now heading out towards the location where the ships are going to be coming out of warp, getting ready to attack its unwary vessels as soon as they come in there. So the Enterprise is trying to warn everybody. They break position. The La LaRue, of course, who are there to keep the peace, are basically everybody hold position. What are you doing, Enterprise? You're kind of breaking the rules of this neutral ground thing we've got going on. Jim is hey, sense out in front of me. Put your sensors in front of me. You can see the impulse engines. You can sense them right there. There's something there. They're going to attack. So they kind of send the message out to everybody. As soon as Bloodwing and their escort come in, I think the ship begins its attack. But since they had the advanced warning, Bloodwing has got its shields up and is able to avoid. So now what follows is a fairly fun and interesting little well-written space battle where you have the Bloodwing kind of avoiding these uh, homing photon torpedoes launched by this new ship. And then you also have the other Romulan ships trying to move in to attack, with the other Federation ships trying to defend and do what they can. And then you have the La Relu neutral ship, and when it takes like a little bit of too close fire from one of the Romulans, lashes out with this crazy powerful ion beam and just like disintegrates the thing. Meanwhile, the Bloodwing is pulling off these maneuvers, kind of turning these photon torpedoes back on the Romulan ships, so that after a short period of time, there's I think 2 Romulan ships remaining, and they go into retreat, and the Bloodwing goes into a fast pursuit and takes off after them. During that time, they get an intruder alert on board the Enterprise, and 3 Romulans have beamed on board. But it's not trouble, it's actually Guylan Trokirian, the Praetorian senator guy, who has been assassinated because of his views. Well, attempted to be assassinated. And in kind of like the last moments when the Romulan physicians were trying to help him, he was rescued thanks to help from Arrhae, who passed along her little cloaking ball to I don't know, another Turadic something, another Romulan, who then used that to rescue the good Praetorian there and get him safely to the Enterprise, where he could get medical care, which actually cared about healing him, because the current care he was under was just going to go ahead and let him die. So we're getting all this happening, and as I'm reading all this, I'm getting right here to the end of the book, and I'm like, how in the world are they going to wrap all this up, and they've only got like these 10 pages left? What could they possibly do? So they get Jim gets an order basically to pursue and bring her back to Federation space, and he takes off in pursuit of her. At this point, she kind of or takes off much faster, and they realize that she has advanced her warp capability. And when they ask her about that, she says that they've developed a singularity which helps power the warp drive. And I thought that was kind of cool, because I think in TNG that's how like the Romulans power their drives. So I thought that was very interesting, and I wonder if that was her, the author Diane Duane, bringing something she saw in the show, tying it into her book to kind of tie the new Romulan stuff to what she was writing, which I really like that. But anyway, that's just going to be it, because they leave the book on a cliffhanger right here, with Ael and the Enterprise racing towards not the Romulan homeworld, but the Outlands, where this revolution is taking place. And they leave you with the lovely little to be continued. Let's find it here so you all can see, just as I did, and be stunned. But they do, I want to point out, have a nice glossary in here, which is probably one of the best sources for like Romulan stuff. But anyway, look at this. All right. To be continued in the empty chair, on sale now. I don't have the empty chair right now, so what am I supposed to read tomorrow night? Well, I don't want to break up, so I'm gonna have to figure something out for that. But anyway, let's wrap up what we thought of Swordhunt and Honor Blade. 2 books, read as one, and a very interesting story. Again, it's fun to get a look at more of the inside of Romulan stuff, and just more of like the double dealings and the shady backstabbing that they go through, and then also to see the honor that they show as well. So you get more of that, but then with this you're also getting an additional bit of good space battles thrown in, and you always like that, of course, and some interesting things that I didn't even begin to mention. I hope that this is not the end of these characters. I hope that they continue into the empty chair, and I'm sure they do. So I hope we'll see Guylan, Arrhae, and I'm sure some of these other characters again in the empty chair. Now, I do have that one ordered. As soon as I was done reading this and I looked on my shelf and realized I didn't have it, I put the order in, and it says anywhere from the 25th to the 2nd of March. Well, that leaves a lot of room for leeway. So hopefully it'll be here closer to the 25th so that I can finish the story, because it's driving me crazy that they drop a to be continued right there, and I'm not ready to continue. So I think in the meantime what I'm going to do is something different and catch up on some of the comic books that I have not followed up on in a while. I think basically all of the new series that have come out, the Star Trek Resurgence, the Star Trek that has Cisco coming back in it. So it would be a good time to follow up on those, and it'd be fun to maybe show you some of the art in those and just talk about what was cool and that kind of thing. So maybe we'll do that. It'll be a fun little change of pace while we wait patiently for the empty chair so I can finish and find out what happens here. But anyway, it was fun. I just wish that I had been prepared. That's all. So as always, I want to say thank you so much for watching. Live long and prosper, and we will see you soon for some comic books. Bye.